Oh, we are live. Okay. We are live. And two very special guests today, Van and Deepali. So just quick story. I started my business, left the corporate world about, it's been a year ago now. And, it's been 1 year. And to mark the anniversary of 1 year, I have two interns with me, which marks phenomenal, a milestone in my company. So I'm just going to do quick introductions. So once again, Charles Elwood. If you want to watch my videos, I'm producing a lot of videos now. Go to YouTube or my website, SolisMatica.com. And I'm going to be posting more content to my business too. But basically, we do business intelligence. We kind of help anybody that needs help, but I'm kind of niching down. I really like renewables, solar energy, fuel cells, hydroelectric, all the energy areas. Some of the renewables are fascinating to me, and we'll go into some of the statistics on that. But the main piece of this show today will be the internship experience that Van and Deepali are now going through. So they are both interns, and they've had some internships experiences before, which with some very big companies, prominent companies. So let's do that. Let's do a quick introduction. We'll go Van, and then we'll go Deepali. So go ahead, Van. Give us a quick introduction of your journey into the data world.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Thank you for having me on the show. It has been a pleasure to me to working with you. And so, hi everybody. My name is Van. I'm a second-year MBA at The Ohio State University, and I'm focused on strategy and data analytics. Before getting to MBA, so I will give you a quick brief of my background so that you have a better understanding of my path through data. So I started my career as a ERP consultant. It's technology consultant, and more than 3 years, I got into a management position to actually prepare me to my MBA, and then after that position, I get into MBA. So, quick to brief, I have experience in technology consulting, management, and MBA experience. And that's all about me. That's all about my introduction, and then maybe we'll go next to Deepali.
Yeah, and Van, you've worked with some big companies, right? Just real quick, was it Unilever I saw on your?
So that's my SAP ERP consulting experience. I worked some of my clients are Fortune 500 companies like Unilever, Honda, and then I actually worked directly for Unilever for its own project when they want to transition Unilever now into from a brand representative brand into a full merchandising operations.
Gotcha.
And that's really nice experience. I get to learn about the about a big company organization and how they operate on actually a daily basis. That's very nice experience. Yeah. So.
Yeah, very cool. And just real quick, maybe you mentioned this already. Your undergrad was in, what was your undergrad in?
I study in Vietnam, and I just went to US for my master degree. My undergrad major is finance, international finance.
International finance.
Yeah, and then I moved into technology consulting, but for finance package, so that's really relevant.
Yeah. Or international finance, and then you're doing an MBA now. Is there a focus on your MBA? Do you have a particular area?
I focus on strategy and analytics.
Oh, strategy and analytics. Oh, very cool. All right. So just real quick on my background. I've worked at Delphi Automotive, Johnson Controls, worked at GE for a period of 6 months. I was an electrical engineer. And I want to add this because me, Deepali, and Van, we've formed this group, but we have experience from all over, and we're all going through, a master's degree or going to get a master's degree. So we're incorporating all this strategic knowledge as a group, which has been kind of fascinating, right? And then, I did a master's and I focused more on information data analytics, but this was in 2005. So it's been a while. And we could talk a little bit about how it's changed from then until now. And I also did a lot of marketing. I enjoy marketing, and that's a piece that I've brought to this group, to this company too. So yeah, so Deepali, you want to give us a quick introduction of your background?
Sure. Both of you all have really stellar backgrounds. So I did my undergrad in ECE from India. After that, I worked as an application development analyst at Accenture. I primarily worked in PL/SQL, more of database stuff. And after that, after working for about 2 years, I decided to do my master's. And right now, I'm doing a master's in engineering management. My major is industrial engineering, and my focus is data science. Right now, my primary skill is Python, so I do a lot of data analysis using Python.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, and that data analysis in Python has been a great addition to our group.
Yeah.
So we're gonna revisit some of that on how we bring different skills, and kind of what you talked a little bit about at the beginning of this was the kind of the unicorn, of what we're doing. Yeah, and why don't we start with that? So I thought that was really interesting, because 2 months ago I was like, what do I do? I need some help, and maybe I find some interns and to help me. And this experience has really brought in, what you can do, the possibilities. Before I was like, can I do this alone? But since you and Van and Deepali, you've come in, you've kind of taken pieces of this company now and expanded the reach of this company. So kind of talk about your journey and how you learned about this unicorn and how it applies to us.
Yes, so it was back when I had just started working, and I heard this buzzword data science, and I wanted to know more about it. So I was watching a few videos, I think on LinkedIn or YouTube, and I came across this video that talked about data science unicorns. So it said that data science has 3 core skills. One is coding, the second is statistics, and the third is business. And to be a good data scientist, you need to know all 3 of them. You need to know your statistics, you need to know coding, and you need to translate all of that information into actions using your business skills. And very often, one person can know all of these things, but will not be a pro at all of these things at once. And a data scientist who has all of these skills and is a pro at it is called a data science unicorn. We cannot have a person who's a data science unicorn, but we have teams that are data science unicorns. People with different strengths coming together and creating that strong coding, statistics, and business background. That is a data science unicorn team. And I feel we are pretty much data science unicorns right now with the skills that we have got together.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a great experience. We've only done this, for a little bit, and I'm sure at the end of your internship, we probably should do another show on how much we've learned and progressed, and how much more we've divided up the tasks. But Van, maybe we go to you real quick and just kind of talk about. So I think it's fascinating how, before this, I didn't even think of having interns remotely, right? And I was like, is that going to be effective? And I think people are going through that process right now. Is like, how do you build a remote company? I mean, there was, there's been remote work before, but I think it's our discovery of how Teams works, how channels work inside of Teams, how you communicate in Microsoft Teams. And I think some people use Slack. And that's enabled us to be remote, but just have constant communication, right? So maybe just real quickly, what are, you've been in a couple of internships. What's been different about this internship that you have learned the most about, during this short time and, so far in this internship, I guess?
So you mean learn from this internship?
Yeah.
In the remote context, like focus more on remote management, virtual management, management of virtual team, or You mean about what I learned about the skill set and data and also team communication?
Yeah, maybe both, or whatever you have to say for the audience about this experience, because it's really unique to me. I've never done anything like this. I don't know if you've had in prior internships. Did you do any remote work? And then compared this experience with your other data experiences, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so the first impression I have on the team is that Charles is very creative on measurement of the team. Like Charles create a lot of channels on Teams and try to think of a new way to make work on team more effective. And Deepali can tell that, right? And the second impressive, I see that we have a very good combination of a team. Like Charles focus more on management and marketing outreach of the company. Deepali focus more on engineer. She's very good at coding and a lot of other technical aspects. And me bring in the business insights that I learned through my experience and also from the MBA program. And that's, I think, a very good combination that we can help our customer to solve their business problem by integrated with technology. And the third one is that working on a fast-based environment. Like everything changed a lot, and we need to, and I myself need to adapt to the pace of the team. Like yesterday, we talk about one solution for a problem, and then today we revise that solution already. Specific like in the marketing way that Charlotte is testing with, and I really enjoy that. Like we need to take action on the work, and we learn from that, not to do any risk, not to waiting so long before taking action. And
Yeah. No, those are great points. Yeah, we are. This is. I'm experimenting every day with communication, with the Slack channels, trying to organize, trying to make sure engagement is there and the communication flows. So I've been experimenting with that, like you said, and it's worked really well so far. I mean, what we've developed, and then yeah, just fascinating on the. We've been experimenting with LinkedIn, with posts, with YouTube, with we're looking at email campaigns now and different types of marketing, different tools, different platforms, and just learning everything every day. And then what I love is in terms of the network effect, your networks, we're combining our network power. And when we share one post and then you reshare it, we're experimenting and see what kind of reach. Does it go to the second level connections, third level? And just today I shared something and then Deepali shared it to her audience, and she had a different set of likes than I had, and we had a different number of views between the both of us. So stuff like that, it's great that you can be involved in the marketing process too, and we do it as a whole, company versus one individual or one department's trying to pump out these messages. We're experimenting as a group, right? So that's been a lot of fun for me, and hopefully you can take that knowledge further, right? So let's go into, we had a lot of questions pre-submitted. And then, Van, you had a great, let's see, do we have here we go. Great idea, which is to kind of show the trends on, why we chose, Microsoft Power BI, why I chose BI, and why I chose Microsoft, a Microsoft product. And this is, if you go to the Microsoft Power BI page, and you search for Magic Quadrant by Gartner, there's a post in there. And I remember, looking at prior posts of this Magic Quadrant, and Microsoft was kind of in the middle of the pack, right? And within 5 to 6 years, they've taken off and just taken over the market, right? So, and there's such a huge community to support you if you want to learn Power BI. I went through Avi Singh's program, and he's now hired me as a coach. for his Pro Plus group. And that's the training I bought for Deepali and Van. But there's different styles, different teachers out there. And the weird thing about Power BI is you can solve one problem in about 5 to 10 different ways. Via DAX, Power Query, you put in a SQL and then bring it in kind of clean already. Or there's like 10 different DAX equations and there's different ways to clean it in M. So it's, my recommendation is pick one direction. And that's kind of why our team, chose Avi Singh's teaching methods. But the other thing is, I also watch the trends pretty heavily, and on Indeed.com, I was looking at that, and you can see, I think number 12 is data engineer, number 9 IT specialist, security specialist, data scientist is number 8. You see Java development up there, software architect. So IT is still big, and then data is climbing heavily in Indeed's best jobs, and the pay is nice too. So I was watching those trends pretty carefully, and I'm hoping there's other interns or potential interns out there watching, and this is kind of hopefully to motivate them to join the data. And then this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov. And I think down here you could see data scientists. It's right here up top. And then information security again is near top. Statisticians, part of the unicorn that Deepali was talking about. And then, so they're all near the top. And then, I was looking at this and I see wind turbine and solar power, right? And those are my passions. I'm like, oh, renewables. And then here I see later in the list, data science. And I'm like, wow, all my passions are coming together. And I can work on something I really want to do and start a business doing it, right? So that's why a year ago, I just dove into this. So I'm excited. And, maybe we talk a little about that. That's one of the questions that came up, is why does data excite you? Why are you passionate about data? And I know, Van, we were talking yesterday in a team meeting or on Monday, and I think it was a quick 30-minute meeting, but when we talked about data and how much fun it is, I think your eyes got real big and you're like, I love data, and maybe we just kick it off with that, talk about why you love data so much. Why should other people, potentially look at using data or studying data?
Yeah, so for me, it might be a personal answer. That I have a curious mind, very curious mind. So I'm interested in learning more about what does it look like, what's the insight behind the surface. So for me, a bunch of data is like a way for me to explore. So I want to take down the data and see what the parents behind that, what the insights that it can show. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm passionate about data is that I very value the fact or the truth. And I think that the business decision makers need to look into the fact to make their business strategy or build business model. So that's the reason I think that I really help to in terms of showing the truth or the fact about things. So brief, 2 reasons that I'm so passionate about data is that I really like, I have a curious mind, I want to learn more. And the second one is that I value the truth more than everything else. So
I think that's valuing the truth because you understand why. I think that's part of why I love data too, is you see these things happening in the world and you're like, why would that happen? But then if you look at the data, a lot of times it's like, oh, that makes sense now. It costs more, it takes more time, so people do it this way because it takes less time. When you start seeing that, and time is a thing that people measure all the time, but they never look at the trends. But once you start looking at like year over year or patterns over time, things make sense, right? And the thing for me is too is it adds so much value. I've seen this add so much value, and so people are wasting time sometimes. analyzing the data and they can't get to it quickly. And, now we have the power to just like help people with decisions and, make it quickly too. It's like, don't waste time waiting for the data. Here's the data set. Here's why. You can make your decisions now and start moving, right? And so, Deepali, we want to go to you too. And why data? Why Python? And what are your thoughts? Do you think it's important?
I think all of us have a very personal journey with data. For me, it was like I said, when I worked before I started my master's, I was dealing with SQL databases, and I kind of like that. Even on a personal level, I love organizing information into tables. I have a tracker for everything, for my homework, for future goals. I all put it in Excel, make charts out of it, and it just gives me a sense of clarity, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment when I see the percent completion increasing. So I just like the idea of seeing everything in data. And talking about data science, when I started learning it kind of felt like magic, artificial intelligence and machine learning. It feels really cool to train your machine and to make it learn from a data set and to see an output from your machine, the machine that you built. When I started learning data science, first project that I did by myself was on a Pokemon database. So I am a huge fan of anime and stuff like that. So what I did is I took a database from Kaggle and I made a machine learning model to predict if a given Pokemon is legendary or not. Probably not the kind of problems you want to solve using AI, but then it's a great learning process to to learn a few skills and then to use those skills on something that you like. And I think that has helped me understand data science better. And now that I know how to build a machine learning model, I can extrapolate those skills to different things, like to see if in a given set of emails, if a mail is spam or ham, to get a set of client leads and to see which ones should we go after and which ones we shouldn't right now. So I really enjoy the process of learning data science, and I like seeing the outcome. And that is what makes me learn more in this field.
Yeah, no, that's I had Tyler Bedhauser on my show, and he said that there's data, but if you apply it to something you're passionate about, it really pushes your learning and your motivation to learn that data, right? So no, even though it's Pokemon, there's probably people on the show that are watching and it's like, oh, I can apply that to something I'm passionate about. Like, so for example, I've got my son here. He said, great job. So, but he's a big Minecraft player, and I'm just thinking now he's passionate about it. Maybe we can analyze the data from Minecraft, and maybe some trends on there and get him started in that too. So you can apply data to anything, which is kind of the cool part. And then you can solve the problem in so many different ways with Power BI too. So that's another cool part. So if anybody's watching, it looks like there's a few viewers. So I'm broadcasting to a couple different streams. If anybody's watching and has any questions for Deepali and Van, go ahead and type them in the comments and I'll put them up on the screen. And so what I'm going to do now is Ian Bowman, who's in Pennsylvania, is a good friend of mine, Power BI consultant, has posted some questions. And I think Ian has a daughter looking to college. So some of the questions may be to help his daughter make some decisions on some direction to go to, right? And this goes into why you chose MBA, or Deepali, is it a master's in engineering management, right? And so we've done some different things. I did a master's in industrial administration, which is the 1-year MBA. So I took less electives. And long story short is I was going through the MBA program. We had our first child and I was living at Purdue Village. And I was like, wow, this baby, the new baby, I didn't realize, the babies would keep you up all night. And then reading my case studies, that kept me up all night. So I was like, oh, wow, I'm not getting any sleep. So I kind of took a little bit of a break. I took some classes and then came back and, did my MSIA instead. So, so we want to hear stories from you, Van and Deepali, on what grad school is like. And let's go to that. So let's dive into why MBA for each of you, or M's, right? So Deepali, since we're on your screen, let's go with you first.
Okay, why Master of Engineering Management? So as I mentioned earlier, I am doing my MEM with my major in industrial engineering and with my focus in data science. So, this combination is difficult to get, and MEM gave me the flexibility to choose different courses from different schools, in fact. So our program is like 60% engineering and 40% business. So it gives me a chance to work on my engineering skills that I already have. And it also gives me a chance to get a bit of knowledge into business. I've taken courses in marketing, as Charles mentioned earlier. Both of us are really interested in that. I've taken one course in accounting. I have worked for a consulting project in the Cranen School of Management. So I chose this program because it helped me get closer to being a data science unicorn, because statistics and coding was not too difficult for me since I came from an ECE background. But business is something that I had not dealt with earlier. So MEM gave me a chance to work on my engineering skills, but also get a bit of value from the business school. So yes, that is why engineering management for me.
Oh, very cool. Now you said ET. What does that stand for?
Oh, ELI. Did I say ELI? Experience.
The undergrad. What is it? An engineering?
Oh, EE. So back in India, in fact, it's called electronics and telecommunication. Here, I can call electronics and computer engineering.
Gotcha. So that makes more sense. So it's an electronics communication type of degree. So the the coding came naturally, kind of, right, for you.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that MEM's program had that much engineering to it. That's really cool. So yeah, very cool. Thank you, Deepali. So we're gonna switch over to Van. And I just want to iterate this. It's an amazing group that we have because we all have undergrad backgrounds. We've done some experience in the industry, and then we're all returning to get our masters. And then we're all kind of delving in strategy and marketing and business. And we're incorporating that into this business too. So it's like a group of superheroes kind of coming together, but and from different angles too. I love this. So Van, let's hear from you on why you decided to take this route, the MBA route.
Yeah, so at one point in my career, at that time I worked for a project for Ajinomoto when it transitioned into a bigger measurement system. And then Ajinomoto is a top 5 consumer good company in Japan. And at that point, I realized that I need more business acumen, so that I decided to own an MBA.
Gotcha.
No, not that MBA at that step. I just decided to own education to get me more business skills and knowledge. And I also look into myself that I personally learn faster through experience. So I search for programs that have a lot of experiential learning, such as case studies, simulations, and projects with real clients. And the MBA program has all of that experiential learning. So I decided to take MBA program.
Gotcha. Oh no, that's really cool. I think I went through something really similar. I got out of engineering school, and since I spoke Thai, I worked for a company that opened a plant in Thailand. And I went over to visit the plant, and I realized when I got over there, there's a lot of, in engineering, they didn't teach you about how to run a plant, how to open a plant, how to train people, a lot of the HR stuff. So an opportunity, I think it was during the recession, and back in 02, 03. And I decided to go back and I was like, well, I want to learn this stuff. I can definitely see it's a gap here. So I went back, got my MBA. But, engineering and business. I remember, and even though it's at Purdue, which is primarily an engineering school, right? You go into the business program, and I was taking these finance classes, and I was ripping my hair out because it was a different language. It was a different style of learning. Engineering, so black and white. You do sorry, Deepali reminded me I'm going on the big screen. Engineering is so black and white. Business is so, amortization schedules, the managerial accounting. It was such a foreign language for me. So even, that was kind of odd for me because I had never been so lost before. When I joined the MBA program, I didn't have the background, to learn this stuff. And so Van, I wanted to ask you a question, and we have talked about this earlier too, is for you were coming into business, but you had some background in it, but the language barrier, was that, how was that overcoming that, and was there any language barrier between going from, I think accounting, I mean, that's kind of a business thing, but, maybe into marketing or some of maybe the IT world or the data world, was there kind of a transition for that?
So in terms of business terminology, I myself didn't get much difficulty to catch up with my peers who already have had experience in that field before they get into MBA.
Okay.
But I get more language barrier is English because my mother language is not English. And then when I came into the US, sit in the MBA classes, I just get 70% of what professor said and 50% of what my classmates said. That's
Wow.
the first few weeks. That's the first few weeks in my MBA classes, and then later gradually I forced myself to learn to catch the essence of my classmates as well as the pace of American talk. That when I really catch up with my class. So to brief, I get more problem with English as a second language rather than a business terminology because in some point in my career, my past experience, I already heard about these terms. So that's really not a problem to me.
Yeah. Wow, fascinating. So, and just I think we had talked about this, but I was, when I was one, I think we moved to Thailand, to Bangkok, and I was going to, my parents put me in the international school in Bangkok, and I took the Iowa test of basic skills. I don't think they do that now, but it was kind of like the SAT for little people. And I took it, and I remember failing, and my dad tells me, we got the letter from the international school that says, Charles he can't be a part of this school because he doesn't understand the language. He won't make it. And so he went and talked to them, and he's like, let's work something out. Let's put him through ESL. And to this day, I still think back to that. It's like, the human mind has amazing power, but it's also very frustrating, to inside you have all this knowledge, but it's coming out, people's mouths, and it sounds different, and you can't piece it together. And I've been through that a long time ago. So, I just wanted you to share that story because there's probably many, many more out there that are going through this experience. And then real quick, Deepali, your English is super good. Was there any kind of language, or was there a topic that you struggled with in the EMS program?
Language was not a barrier for me because in India, I studied in an English school. So that was not a problem for me. But switching to business from engineering, that was difficult. And like we talked earlier about case studies, that is the thing that we shared. Case studies are difficult. They are pages and pages long. You need to read them from the first word to the last word and so many times and make sense out of it. I think that was a struggle for me. But I am glad that I did it because I needed to understand business. And I think going through these courses from the business school has helped me a lot. But that switch from engineering to business.
Oh, that's a good point. Yep, case studies and I remember the cohort groups, right? And is it the same at Ohio State where you have like groups of 3 or 4 that work together on each case study? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you learn team dynamics the hard way.
Yeah, right. Agree.
It's like, whoa, you got like, and this is what I learned about MBAs too, is there's a lot of A personalities. So you get a group of 4 and they're typically all leaders and they want to take over the group. And, I don't know if it's the same in the MEMS group, but that, I remember that was, you typically get that kind of personality there. So then it's like, oh, this is an interesting dynamic I have to learn to work with. So
Yeah.
let's go into another question from, why are you learning about BI as an MBA candidate? So maybe, I think we kind of touched on this one already and maybe we touch on it, but also I think, and this may show up in other questions, but what topics are they teaching you related to BI? It's, I think I mentioned, and I wanted to talk about this, is I met through LinkedIn a professor named Danilo, and he teaches at Saginaw State University, and he watched some of my videos and learned about Power BI, and he decided this was super important to teach his students. So he's teaching Power BI to his students. But I'm curious to know, at Purdue and at Ohio State, what, and I didn't switch my screens again. Deepali is probably typing there, but, what are they teaching about, and I think we talked a little bit about Python too, right? You can take classes, but is it part of the curriculum or what do they teach about data analytics? So Deepali, we'll start with you since you're on the big screen. So.
Oh, I was on mute.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So for me, I personally am not learning a lot of BI or BA. I'm learning more of DA, data analysis. So I have taken courses from the College of Engineering, from industrial engineering in Python, in statistics, learning tools like Minitab, and I remember, I think I had learned a bit of Tableau. But there are several courses that are offered by the business school. The business school also has a major in data analytics and I think business analytics both. And they offer a lot of cool courses. I think that was also one of the questions about big data. So I read a bit about it. So the business school teaches visualization techniques using Tableau to query large data sets. Social network analysis, something that we can use a lot, using a software called DevFi. I have not used it, but it seems to be really helpful. They also teach Hadoop for big data, and how to use APIs to gain insights from websites like Twitter and BuzzFeed. So all of these things are being taught in schools right now, and I think these skills are really important. So yeah, that is another very cool thing is that at least at Purdue we have departments that we can work with. Like we earlier talked about the Krennicki Center at Purdue, which is a data center. So we can, as students, apply to work there as assistants. So basically, Krennicki Center gets projects from their industrial partners, and students, along with faculties, work on those projects. So you learn skills in your classroom, and then you also have a chance to apply them to the real world using all of these platforms that we have at our university. I worked at DCMMA, and I worked there as a data analyst for some time over the summer. And that gave me a chance to use a lot of Python, a bit of Power BI to analyze databases. So I think that is something really nice that the university provides to us.
Wow, interesting. And just before we come off of you, so we met through it was a remote mentoring, right? And Purdue set up a case study competition, Protect Purdue, Project X, I think it was called. So are there a lot of opportunities like that where, Purdue matches you up for case studies and outside? So it sounds like Krennicki Center has data projects and you can work with outside companies on those projects. And then what other opportunities are there in terms of case studies? Do they come along every once in a while and Purdue opens it up to the campus to students to join, or how does that work?
We do have a lot of case competitions that come up all the time. There's one starting today, and I am a part of it. I think it's called the Stamina Case Competition, which is going to be in data analytics.
Ooh.
There are several such competitions. I think it is going to be organized by the Kennedy Center again.
Okay.
So such competitions are open to other universities as well. Protect Purdue is not. But this one is open to other universities. So it just gives you a chance to work on real world problems, interact with people from different backgrounds. The team that I have has members from supply chain analytics, finance analytics. So we come from really different backgrounds, and we are going to put our knowledge together and work on one case study. And like you said, the same case study competition has helped us get connected.
Right.
So I think that's another cool thing that schools are doing right now. And I'm sure other schools are doing that as well. Maybe one can tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, thank you, Deepali. So yeah, let's jump to Van. So, kind of talk about us. What are the learning opportunities about, in the BI world and data at Ohio State University? And then, if the university has some unique opportunities for you to connect or get data sets from the outside world, we would love to learn about that. Yeah.
Yes, so we, in MBA program, we also have a separate pathway just for business analytics. That pathway can combine a lot of heavy data courses like data modeling or data analytics. Like so in other pathway we have some, for example, 100% is business related topics, but for the business analytics pathway, it's also like in the MBA program, it's combined of 50 technical and 50% of business. So it's very interesting pathway for you to look into if you want to get into an MBA. And the other courses that we have is the data analysis for decision making. We have that course in the spring of the first year. And parallel with that course, we also have a project with real clients. And for my team, we worked with Root Insurance, InsurTech unicorn that has the biggest value in the InsurTech market for now. And that's really cool. Like we have, we apply analysis skills from the data analysis course, and then we have a chance to apply those skills into a real project, get data from the real client. That's very good experience, and I learned from experience. I learned from that project a lot.
Wow, no, that was actually part of the class. As part of the class we worked with, so they integrated it. You didn't have to apply. So wow. So and I get this from Avi Singh, my mentor. Is there's a couple of data sets out there. There's one in Power BI, the famous one, bicycle sales, and it's just no fun working with fake data. You're like, oh yeah, I see this pattern, but what does it really do? But the experience with real data, especially like Deepali said, if you get experience with real data and it's data that you're passionate about, that experience will really, like make you learn so much more and really propel you forward. So I'm just gonna throw in a little bit about my experience too. When I was an MBA student, I took one IT class that was phenomenal in influencing me to learn about and want to learn about data. I took a class and it was at Purdue. It was we learned about SQL queries, and we learned, I remember the test was like, if you write a SQL query to do this, and all this stuff about SQL queries, or normalizing the data tables, or creating these, tables in relational databases. And I didn't realize at the time, but that was 10 years ago, but it still taught me so much about databases, how they work, how they're structured, how you extract data from them. And even though Power BI doesn't use SQL queries, really, just having that background knowledge about how that database that I'm extracting from, that I'm connecting from, it was built, is so valuable, because you kind of understand kind of the person that architected and designed it. It's like, oh, he normalized it and he created a subtable. That's why. But I'm just curious too, Deepali, you mentioned, they're talking about APIs at Purdue to connect with Twitter and Facebook. But Van, you mentioned that your experiences with ERP systems, right? So does Purdue have classes on different types of ERP systems and different types of databases and how to connect to those? I was just curious if you've taken any classes like that at either schools.
I have not taken any classes in that yet. I was planning to, in fact, but since I am working as an intern this semester, I did not. But yes, they have several such classes to learn technologies that are being used in the industry right now.
Okay.
And from the classes that I've taken, we also use data sets from Kaggle a lot, which is a place where all the data scientists are. And there are a lot of people who put data sets out there. They source data, clean it, and put it out there. And then there are other people who go and work on that data, create their own models, and gain insights from that data.
Gotcha. What was the website called? What was the place called?
Kaggle, Kaggle.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I'll have to look at that. And then, so Van, you had a lot of experience with ERP systems. Do you find classes that help kids, kids, here I go again, students understand, kind of ERP systems and manufacturing systems, or is it shifting towards different databases? What are the schools teaching?
So more specific about database, I see several electives that school provides, such as from logistic management or operation management. But for the course that teaching general about ERP system, I don't think that our program has that course. But at Ohio State University, we have a big school, so maybe there's some courses that provided by other schools, for example, engineering school or such kind of school has a course. But I think that general ERP, we don't have that course specifically in Fisher, but we do have that kind of measurement system courses. And for those people who are interested in more supply chain measurement, they can take those specific courses like supply chain technology course. And for those interested in accounting and finance, they also take MIS, measurement information system course. And that may be good for them at that point. And if they want more, they can reach out to other schools to get ERP course.
Gotcha. No, that's an interesting point. And one of the reasons I bring that up too is I was in a marketing kind of a focus group at a local high school, and everybody came in the focus group and kind of put up post-its on skills that in the future the kids would need. And I remember one person from a pretty large company in our town put up a sticker with Salesforce, business intelligence, data analytics, how to use these tools, and they've identified it as a gap. They don't have enough students coming out of universities and high schools with that skill set. So it's, and then Salesforce, something like a SaaS, like Salesforce cloud-based databases now. Those are changing so fast and so rapidly. I would think it'd be hard to create a curriculum to teach on that stuff too, which is what we're finding, right? LinkedIn algorithms change weekly. Could be or YouTube, or you've got all these platforms now in the cloud, and they are updated on the fly. And that's the thing. Yeah, and like Power BI, right? They release monthly. It throws people off. And it's hard to teach because you're like, wow, every month I have to track all these changes, but there's really you know, the fundamentals, once you learn those, then Power BI is not as bad, but it's a little bit frustrating when you first start in Power BI and you realize there's updates coming up with that stuff. So
good point.
Yeah. So, and then just a reminder, if there's anybody in the audience, I see there's a few on. If you have any questions or you want to comment on where you're located, you know, which town are you at, where you're calling in from or chiming in from, let us know. We'd love to see who our audience members are. And then we're going to jump to my friend Raul. He's in Costa Rica, and he submitted some questions which are really interesting for you. We'll probably be able to get to 2 more because I'm looking at the clock up here on my screen, and it's been 50 minutes. So it feels like it's been 10:15 because, you know, this is really interesting conversation. But let's jump to some of Raul's questions. So we talked a lot about, you know, the kind of the classes and the different tools. Do they have classes on the different tools? So Deepali, you know, let's go back to this one real quick. So the different tools that when I research, you know, that Gartner analytics, and there was another one, Forrester Research did some, they did the Wave, and Power BI was on there, Tableau was on there, and then the big one was ClickSense or ClickView. Those were the 3 big ones in the market. And Deepali, you mentioned Tableau is taught at Purdue as some of the classes. And maybe we'll start with you. Have you seen Power BI or ClickSense in any of your classes or any other tools besides Tableau? So it sounds like Tableau is in some of your classes, but do they use any of the other tools or teach about them yet?
Right. So among the classes that I've taken, I think one tool that I have worked on is Minitab. It is mostly for statistics, but it has been very helpful to me. And my entire course was only in that tool, and that was an IE course, an industrial engineering course. But that same tool is also used in the School of Business for more marketing, for taking BA decisions. I think one of my friends took the BA course and they worked on Minitab too. So it's the same tool, but it was used differently in the business school and in the School of Engineering. So what we use it for was mostly experimental designs and getting insights from the observations that we get out of experiments. And I think they used it more for market analysis and taking business decisions. That is the one tool that I have worked on academically here at Purdue, but there are a lot more courses in different technologies. I have not taken them yet, but they are offered in the school. I mostly, the technologies that I am using right now, I have mostly learned them from other sources like Udemy or other classes like some on YouTube. So that is how I am learning right now.
Gotcha. So you're doing a lot of self-learning. You said Python and Minitab. Python and Minitab are used. And did you mention one other one? I didn't catch the name of the. So you said Tableau, and then was there another tool that you use for data viz? Or were you saying Minitab is different?
Yeah,
okay.
maybe it was Minitab.
Okay. And we can post it in the comments after too. So that's interesting. But ClickSense and Power BI, you don't really see those, right?
I know that Power BI is offered in one of the courses. I remember seeing it somewhere. ClickSense, I did not remember, but that could be because I wasn't specifically looking for it. We have so many courses. I have not read the details of all of them. But I can be sure that Power BI is offered. I'm not sure about the other technology right now. Gotcha. But I can find that out and we can post it along with our video.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So I know that question came from 2 or 3 different people. You know, it's like what's being taught, you know, which tools. So so yeah, Van, if you can, we'll jump to you real quick. You have used Power BI. It was at the last company, Peak, right? PK. Yep. Yes. And that's a friend of mine. I was at Rose Holman. So he contacted me and said, you were looking for a kind of a volunteer internship. So Jeremy, we'll give a shout out to Jeremy here. So Peak, you use Power BI at Peak, and so did you learn that in school, or did you learn it on the job when you were at Peak?
Honestly, I didn't learn that at school because in my first year MBA, I just have introduction about. I just have classes introduction about Tableau, Excel for sure, other tools such as Python and R, and the teacher did mention about Power BI. And for the last summer, I interned with Peak. I learned Power BI from the experience, not from school.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so and then Click. Have you used Click or heard of that at all throughout school or anything, or?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, and then Tableau, you said was being taught at Ohio State.
Yes.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, and then what about any of the other statistics programs like Minitab, or there's another one out there, right? Do they teach any of those tools, or?
So the professor just mentioned some other tools out there on the market, but he focused mostly on Excel, Python, and R, and mentioned just a little bit about Tableau. That's the data analysis course that I got into. And because I finished my first year and I haven't got into my second year yet, I don't know what the elective courses out there for other analytic tools.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh yeah, no worries. So thanks for your input on that. So we're at 56 minutes. So we're gonna probably go to our closing comments. So thank you, Deepali. Thank you, Van, for being on the show. And I think, I always end with this, is I try to help as many people as I can, especially if they want to join on this crazy journey I'm going on of starting my own business. And it's been a year. It's been so much fun. And thank you for joining my company and helping it expand. One quick story for me is, I read about, I think it was in Harvard Business Review, that Embraer is an airplane company in Brazil, I believe. And what they did was fascinating, because they valued experience, but they also valued business strategy. And what they did was they hired people, I think, that were out of their Air Force, because they build airplanes. So they hired people from the Brazilian Air Force. But I also think they put them through MBA school or masters, in engineering or management and business. And they only brought in people with, kind of the background in Air Force and aircraft. And then they brought in business people too, people that had gone through the MBA programs, right, and got a master's degree. So they brought these people with a business mindset, but had the technical background, right? And so what I find so fascinating is that's what we are. We're a group, with the technical background, but we're combining it with strategic business insight and growing and experimenting and testing new things. And sometimes they fall flat and we fail, but we keep going, right? So, but I want to inspire other interns, right? And, I want to hear your stories of, was it hard this year to search for an internship? And was there any special tips and tricks that you want to help provide to other interns in terms of getting, an internship or a job? Was there anything that you did special that helped you?
I go first?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're on the big screen. I should have moved myself up, but go ahead. Go ahead, Van.
Yes. So I found out that to do business is all about people. So that you need to get trust from other people to do business with them. And that means that being talent only is not enough, and being connected, and that makes you go better in your career development. So my point is that if you only acquire hard skills and soft skills by yourself, you might be good, you might be expert in that field, but if you don't get connected with other people, other experts in your network, in your field, you might be go up the career ladder slower than your peers. That's my point.
Oh, that's
Yeah, keep acquiring skills, necessary skills for your field, and reach out and connect with other people also.
yeah. Wow, very powerful, Van. Thank you for that. That's my belief too. Is I learn something new almost every week. I actually read about 10 books at a time because I don't have the attention span to read the whole book at once. So I read 10 pages, go to the next book, read 10 pages. So I've got a stack of 10 books. I know I'm weird, but I just love reading and acquire new knowledge and connecting with people. And, and that's what I want to impart to people watching too is, in the age of video, you can put your face and your voice out there, and it could be sitting on a YouTube channel, and somebody could go to it, click on it, and like you said, the trust is so important now, and people can watch your video anytime they want, and they can make that decision if they trust you and they realize who you are. Before, up to this point, you could hide behind a brand, but I think those days are over. I think people want to know and want to develop a human connection relationship. And I think that's why video is so important. I heard the other day, YouTube is the #2 search engine right now, especially for the younger generations, which is incredible for me because people just use YouTube to search for everything now. So,
yeah.
So thank you for that insight. That's super powerful. And we're gonna switch to Deepali real quick for some closing comments. What's your advice, Deepali, for people looking for jobs, internships, and adventure?
I would first like to answer your question about how it was different this time to look for an internship or do an internship. I personally feel that it was not difficult as such for me. I think over the summer when we were under stay-at-home orders and all that stuff, I think it just helped me to get a bit of clarity, to know what I want, and I just started learning. There are so many sources from which we can learn from Udemy. I listen to these podcasts called Super Data Science.
Yeah.
I've also started taking the Power BI course that you have suggested to us. So I was learning a lot in a very short duration of time. And I feel that when you are working on something that you really like and you get to people who are also working on the stuff that they like, you will come across someone who's like-minded, like we met through Project X. And I think that is what has helped me to work on the skills that I like working on and then find other people who like working on the same things. And I think doing this internship is exactly what I wanted. And I love my job right now. I mean, every day I work on the things that I like. I write Python scripts to extract data to make sense out of it. And I think this has been the best thing career-wise that has happened to me so far.
Oh, wow, Deepali. So thank you for that. So I want to echo that fact is, I read 4-Hour Workweek years ago and I was like, yeah, that's impossible, right? But kind of like what you said, when you're doing something you love and you're passionate about, it's not really working. It's like playing all day. It's like people pay you to give value to them because what you play and what you're passionate about gives them value too. And it's just increasing goodness and value in the world, right? It's making people better. So that's like you said. And then when you put your videos, another thing about videos is you can put what your interests are and who you really are. And like, we're data people and we love data and we're passionate about it. And we found, this group of people that just want to talk about data. I mean, we could go on for hours probably about data. So once you find those right people, you just get energized and you keep going, right? And then, just both of you have said just learning, finding something new. So I binge watch YouTube channels and I binge watch LinkedIn Learning now. And it's so much fun. Like you said, Udemy, there's so many resources now where you can just learn so fast, so quickly. And I was a visual person, I was reading a lot of books and I wasn't getting as much, but I've found that, if I watch a YouTube video and I hear a good story and that guy or girl paints a picture of some story for me, in my head, I'm like, I can remember that for weeks. So I'm a visual learner and there's so many tools out there that I think people haven't discovered. So I want to encourage a lot of people, look at LinkedIn Learning, look at, there's YouTube channels out there that, there's good ones and bad ones, but once you find the good ones, wow, you can learn so much. So, yeah, we're on that note. We have learned a lot in these few short weeks, and we'll probably do a recap at the end of all this internship to recap everything else we've learned. But let's end on that. We'll say bye to the audience, and then if you, Van and Deepali, hang on for a second, we'll do a recap. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.